From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
Now at 6, will they or won't they? How uncertainty around the Blue Angels has several waterfront businesses worried about Fleet Week.
Plus, the government shutdown enters a fourth day, the economic impact here in the Bay Area.
And later, is an end in sight for the conflict in Gaza? The latest on what was agreed to and what wasn't. Live from the CBS studios in San Francisco, I'm Brian Heck.
And I'm Andrea Nakano. Well, we begin with the government shutdown now in its fourth day with no immediate end in sight.
And they tried, but they couldn't do it. The Senate adjourned yesterday without a vote to reopen the government on a short-term basis. House
Speaker Mike Johnson canceled plans for the chamber to return to the House next week, a move that effectively puts pressure on the Senate to act.
The House will come back into session and do its work as soon as Chuck Schumer allows us to reopen the government. That's plain and simple.
My caucus and Democrats are adamant that we must protect the health care of the American people.
Shutdown means that some on the government payroll are supposed to show up and work without, for the time being, getting paid. That includes TSA agents at airports. It'll also affect museums and national parks. And even with the government shutdown, Fleet Week will still go on, but possibly scaled back. The original headliners, the Blue Angels, are currently on pause, but not canceled outright.
Organizers say if Congress approves a budget soon, the Blue Angels and other branches of the U.S. military could still join in. The uncertainty, though, has many waterfront businesses concerned. All In has reaction from Pier 39.
A little bit of disappointment for sure. Usually it's all hands on deck for all the waterfront businesses during Fleet Week. Some still plan to stock up and staff up, but they do expect the crowd sizes to be a little smaller compared to years past. Music, dancing, outdoor bars.
Have a good day.
And a sea of people. All part of the 47th birthday celebration for the world-famous Pier 39.
We've got the birthday and entertainment zone followed up with next weekend is Fleet Week, so we're going to have hopefully a pretty good first half of the October.
Bob Partwright manages 5 restaurants and a coffee shop at the pier. He's hoping the government shutdown doesn't spoil the fun, because Fleet Week is a huge moneymaker for waterfront businesses.
It is one of the busiest weekends of the year, so as that winds down, we are officially out of summer once Fleet Week ends.
For now, the Blue Angels and other U.S. military jets are on hold. Instead, the Royal Canadian Air Force Snowbirds will headline Fleet Week. The private Patriots jet team and the United 777 will also perform. Organizers say there'll still be plenty to see.
The Snowbirds from Canada will be here. It's still a great show, so come out early. We always bring in extra staff. We have to be prepared for the large crowds.
At Fisherman's Wharf, some businesses have already stocked up on food and new merchandise, like these Blue Angels toys. But some owners say they may now cancel plans to bring in extra staff.
Fleet Week is one of the biggest weekends of the year for us. We see the most tourists, most business. We sell the most. Come on in, tables inside.
The restaurants at the wharf rely heavily on tourists. Some say 2025 has not been a strong year, so they were counting on Fleet Week for an economic boost.
Yeah, a little disappointing. We're hoping to see a really big turnout and hoping it still happens, but with scale back, it might not.
Organizers say the 3-day military celebration usually draws tens of thousands of visitors to the San Francisco waterfront.
Thank you guys very much.
Bob says he's still optimistic about next weekend.
Foot traffic might be slightly less because there's no Blue Angels, but we're still planning and anticipating a very strong weekend, and we're not changing any operations, scheduling, purchasing because the Blue Angels aren't flying. We're going full steam ahead.
The Blue Angels have returned to Florida, but organizers say there is still a chance they can fly if the government gives them the green light. Now, typically they practice on Thursday, perform from Friday through Sunday, so time is running out.
Well, we are keeping our fingers crossed, Thank you so much. And while it is still unclear whether the U.S. Navy will be able to send ships or the Blue Angels, there will be plenty of other sights to see at Fleet Week. The Canadians will be swooping in with their Snowbirds. The military aerobatics team flies 9 turbojets during their performances with speeds topping 350 miles per hour. The jets are less than 6 feet apart while they're doing this, and the Snowbirds will be flying in the air show Friday through Sunday. And that's not all the Canadians are bringing. A Royal Canadian Navy coastal defense vessel used for law enforcement, search and rescue, pollution surveillance, and minesweeping. That one will be here. It will be open for public tours at Pier 19 starting at 9 in the morning tomorrow.
Well, for 44 years, the Salinas Air Show, which was hosted for decades by my old buddy Jim Vanderswan, who did
really?
weather.
Weather. Yeah.
I don't think he's doing it. Well, he might. I don't know if he's still doing it. I know he's not doing the weather, but it's been a sort of opening act for the Blue Angels with thousands of aviation fans pouring into Monterey Bay leading into Fleet Week.
But with the Blue Angels having been grounded due to the government shutdown, civilian planes got a chance to put on a show.
This is a very rare opportunity. We do a lot of...
It was quite a show as planes buzzed above the skies of Salinas. The U.S. Navy Blue Angels were set to perform at the air show for the first time since 2019 and stayed there until Thursday. But 8 jets were then ordered back to their home base in Florida. The only sign of the Navy's fleet, these 6-inch figurines and other merchandise. All U.S. military planes were grounded due to the ongoing government shutdown. Harry Wardwell, executive director of the air show, says while disappointing, they are not going to let that dampen the mood.
And it's our 44th show. We're disappointed that we didn't have the U.S. military here, but you can see there are a lot of happy air show fans. Families are out spending the day.
Instead, people got to see the future of aviation take the skies. Joby and Archer showed off their electrical vertical takeoff and landing air taxis.
This is a electric aircraft, so completely electric. It's got 4 battery packs and it drives 6 propulsion systems. And that's really one of the unique things about it. It's clean, it's all electric, and it's also what allows us to have an aircraft that's extremely quiet.
It wasn't just planes in the air. On the ground, future aviators and engineers had a chance to dream big at the STEM exhibit for kids.
We're going to go to wing number 2. Oh, sure. Yeah. I don't think...
End gang violence. End gang violence. End gang violence.
San Jose community members are rallying for more public safety. They presented a proposal focused on targeting retail crime and gang violence among youths. It includes classifying smash and grab robberies as gang-related offenses and establish tougher minimum sentences for gang-related crimes. They say the legislation will help restore safety and accountability.
Well, speaking of safety and accountability, San Francisco's speed cameras are up and running. August was the first month that people started getting little gifts in the mail from San Francisco. They got citations, and officials say that they have sent out tickets to more than 16,000 drivers. Brad Hamilton, hopefully was not among them, but he took a look at the numbers and how the cameras are impacting driver behavior.
Speed might be an asset for Mercedes Hoagland when she's on the pickleball court. But she's slowing down when she passes the camera that's clocking drivers right by her park in Crocker, Amazon.
Yes, we notice the speed cameras because we get notices at our houses that we've been warned. And then once you know where the camera is, I do feel like there's a change in speed.
Mercedes admits that she's been caught by the camera. She wouldn't tell us how many times, but the city says it's been the biggest change in driver behavior since cameras went up in this neighborhood.
What we are seeing at this specific intersection is a reduction in 92% of how many people are speeding through this area.
That is Victoria Wise, the director of streets for San Francisco's Municipal Transportation Agency. In August alone, she says their speed cameras caught over 16,000 drivers going too fast. If all fines were collected, that'd be over $1 million for 1 month. But Victoria is quick to point out it's not about the money for them.
We have seen people slowing down significantly. And by the way, folks that have had 1 citation or 1 warning, they are not repeat offenders. So they're learning from this, which was the exact point of the program.
So, how does this program work? Your first violation gets you a warning. After that, the ticket hits your mailbox with a fine. The amount depends on how fast you were going. Altogether, the city has 56 cameras set up in 33 different areas considered hotspots, and no spot is hotter than the one on Bryant Street between 2nd and 3rd. And why? Victoria says its close proximity to the freeway means more unfamiliar drivers.
We are seeing reductions in those areas as well, and we are treating them the same way where we're putting up more signs, more warnings so people know that they're entering a high-speed corridor.
SFMTA says about 20% of citations on Bryant Street were from people going 16 miles an hour or more over the speed limit. And back in Crocker, Amazon, people like Mercedes have bought in.
I think they should probably have more of them, certainly around schools.
A game with friends means a walk to the park. For Mercedes, that feels a lot safer now. And if it takes a camera to keep it that way, she says it's a small price to pay.
City officials say that they're keeping an eye on the data, and if the trend holds, cameras could be moved everywhere to other hotspots in the future. Andrea?
Well, Gary McCoy has thrown in his hat into the ring in the race to represent San Francisco's District 8. He hosted an event at the Castro Country Club earlier today to launch his campaign. City leaders and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi came out to show their support. McCoy's office says he is known as an LGBTQ community leader and healthcare advocate. The District 8 supervisor election is scheduled for November of next year. Zoe?
Well, we are looking at a gorgeous weekend all across the Bay Area after some very wet and abnormal weather for late September, early October. It was this system that brought us a good amount of rain last week. It wasn't a whole lot, but it was better than nothing. That system has quickly made its way across the country, bringing snow to parts of the Rockies and leaving us in California in the dust. It is quiet, it is calm, basically across the entire state, and it's going to stay that way through tomorrow. So let's take a closer look and see what we're dealing with right now here in the Bay Area, because there's barely any clouds out there, maybe a few clouds down across our inland East Bay, but other than that, it's lovely. Temperatures comfortable, sitting in the mid-70s across our inland communities, mid to lower 70s down into the Santa Clara Valley and for areas by the Bay and across our North Bay, and mid to lower 60s now that the sun is beginning to set closer to our coastal communities. Overnight tonight and into tomorrow, we are going to continue to see a little bit of cloud coverage out there, but overall, not a whole lot of fog to worry about. And if you do see fog early tomorrow, it will quickly subside by the afternoon hours. And I will break down the details on how long these dry and warm conditions will stick around for, because a cool down is just around the corner. All things I'll break down coming up in my full forecast. Back to you, Brian.
Alrighty, thank you, Zoe. Protesters took a stand in front of San Jose City Hall this afternoon, demanding an end to the slaughter in Israel's war on Gaza, which has claimed 66,000 Palestinians in less than 2 years. Most of the weapons in that war are supplied by the U.S. Organizers are demanding that the city of San Jose and the United States stop sending aid to Israel. This comes as Hamas and Prime Minister Netanyahu are in the midst of negotiating a ceasefire deal with President Trump.
Well, the war between Israel and Hamas may soon come to an end after both sides agree to parts of a deal brokered by President Trump. CBS's Christian Benavides has reaction and explains what comes next.
Smoke could be seen rising from Gaza this morning, but there is newfound hope on both sides that there could soon be an end to the war between Israel and Hamas after the two agreed to parts of a deal brokered by President Trump.
I think it's a really good sign of the whole situation. The deal that Trump and Netanyahu, they are preparing for Hamas, they are making for Hamas, it's a good deal.
It's happy news. It saves those who are still alive. This is enough. We are tired, this man living in Gaza said. Hamas said it agreed to release the hostages it took on October 7th, nearly 2 years ago, as part of an overall deal to end the war, but wants to negotiate some parts of the deal.
The first condition is that the war should stop, as President Trump said. If we release all of the war prisoners, the war gonna stop.
President Trump posted on social media, based on the statement just released by Hamas, I believe they are ready for lasting peace. Israel must immediately stop the bombing of Gaza so that we can get the hostages out safely and quickly.
This is a big day. We'll see how it all turns out. We have to get the final word down and concrete.
Late Friday, Israel said it was ready to implement the first phase of President Trump's plan.
And Tuesday will mark 2 years since Hamas carried out the first attacks on Israel. Well, San Francisco's downtown revitalization working? New data and discussion. That's right after the break. Put on by the Santa Clara chapter of National Alliance on Mental Illness, part of several walks held around the country today to raise money and awareness for mental health programs.
This is a way for our community to speak together as one, to be able to stomp out the stigma of mental health issues.
And it was the 10th annual walk in San Jose, and a very nice day for a walk, Zoe.
Yeah, beautiful day for a walk. Absolutely gorgeous out there. And tomorrow it's going to be slightly warmer than today. So if you like the warmth and the sunshine, this weekend is for you, as we saw a lot of cloudy and rainy days in our past. And this is actually that same system that brought us all of the cloud coverage. It's making its way across the Rockies and the northern Great Plains. And again, it's leaving us in the dust. The entire state of California is looking gorgeous. You notice a little cloud coverage off to our north and a little swirl that indicates an area of low pressure. That is actually going to be moving overhead, but it's going to be so weak, it's barely going to bring us any cloud coverage. What it's going to do is allow offshore winds to develop and allow our temperatures to stay warm through Tuesday. By Wednesday, though, what you'll notice is a low pressure system beginning to develop offshore, and that low pressure system is going to be cooling us down Wednesday, Thursday, and into Friday, maybe bringing us the potential for some rain. But honestly, the biggest impact is definitely going to be those cooler conditions. Tomorrow afternoon, though, high temperatures are going to be a degree or two warmer than today. Inland areas are going to be sitting in the mid to lower 80s. Again, today we are in the upper 70s to maybe near 80. Tomorrow, again, low 80s. For this time of year, that's still a couple of degrees below average, but it's comfortable. Mid 70s for areas by the bay and upper 60s directly along our coastal communities with plenty of sunshine, beautiful beach weather. But I want to make sure you are not like me. This afternoon, I tried to go to Baker Beach, then I tried to go to Crissy Beach. They are both closed because of the government shutdown. So make sure whatever beach you want to go to, it's not closed down, or at least parking situation is going to be pretty bad if the parking lot's closed. By the time that we step out into Monday, though, we're going to continue to see our winds picking up. Offshore winds are going to be a bit of an issue late Sunday night and into early Monday. And it's really interesting. You'll actually notice those winds coming in from the offshore direction. And that's really going to be an issue across our North Bay mountain communities. Let's go up to Mount St. Helena, where we are expecting those temperatures, those wind gusts to be upwards of 45 miles an hour. And on top of the mountains, where we are looking at dry conditions, those humidities down to 30%. It's going to be an issue when it comes to our fire danger, but there is good news because of the rain that we saw this past week. There's really wet fuels at the ground, so anything that sparks, it's not going to spread super quickly. But with the winds and the dry air again, it's just something to keep a close eye on. Again, that will be late Sunday and into early Monday. By Monday afternoon, those high temperatures are going to continue to warm up thanks to those offshore winds. Warming up to the upper 80s, though. For this time of year, again, that is not too crazy hot. That is just back to more seasonable. Areas by the bay are going to be sitting in the mid to lower 80s, and areas closer to our coast, this is Monday, mid 70s. Again, beautiful beach weather on the way. If maybe you want to head out and about, maybe go down to Monterey, maybe go down to Santa Cruz. I wouldn't blame you. Those high temperatures are going to be sitting in the low 70s with plenty of sunshine. Maybe you want to head inland, Hollister, maybe go to Pinnacles National Park. Low 80s. It's going to be really, really nice out there again for any outdoor activities. And that's only going to stick around through the middle parts of the upcoming week. You'll be noticing a big cool down, about a 10-degree temperature drop from Tuesday into Wednesday. Like I said, that storm system will be moving overhead, keeping those temperatures below average through the end of the week. So I want to make sure you all enjoy the more summer-like temperatures, especially if you live inland and you enjoy the upper 80s, and especially if you live along the coast and you enjoy the sunny skies in low 70s. Again, let's soak it up while we can. Back to you.
Going at transformation, yesterday, Max Darrow went for a walk with Mayor Lurie and Assemblyman Matt Haney through Union Square, and Matt filed this report.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's great. Nintendo's been great.
As they walked through Union Square, Mayor Daniel Lurie and Assemblymember Matt Haney celebrated the wins when it comes to bringing the area back to life and looked for progress reports on next steps from business, economic, and community benefit district leaders.
What's the plan for the other?
Many of whom joined them for the walk, as well as several supervisors. Haney is on a statewide tour of downtowns trying to figure out how they can best recover post-pandemic. Lurie just recently announced his Heart of the City initiative, a multi-pronged approach to revitalizing downtown with the help of private funding.
San Francisco's on the rise. There's more people leasing space than leaving space for the first time in 6 or 7 years. Crime is down 40% in this part of San Francisco, in downtown.
But there are still a lot of empty storefronts. A Cushman Wakefield report reveals the Q2 retail vacancy rate in Union Square was 23%.
One of the spots in particular is Powell Street. As we look right here, vacancy, 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 vacancy. Yep. I know this particular corridor is one you're hoping to change. How is that going to happen?
Yeah, it's going to happen by being relentless and by winning companies and retailers back to San Francisco, which is what we're doing.
Lurie points towards bigger businesses opening up, like Zara, and smaller ones, like Dandelion Chocolate, which opened a Union Square location on Friday.
2, 1.
Haney says downtown recovery in San Francisco and elsewhere does hinge upon the city and state eliminating red tape that disincentivizes businesses.
We shouldn't be getting in our own way by making things more expensive and more time consuming. Everything needs to be about speed and flexibility at a time when we're experiencing these challenges.
And he argues that's happening.
We're doing our part, changing our laws around CEQA. Making sure there's a by right ability to do adaptive reuse, to change office space to housing. And the city is doing their part as well. And businesses are feeling it, and you're already starting to see the difference.
There is a challenge, however, that cannot be quantified.
Making sure that the perception meets the reality.
I am as frustrated as anybody about some of the street conditions that we have in different parts of downtown. We have to do better.
So you talk about it's not acceptable and we need to do better, but how? How do we actually do better?
First, it starts with public safety. So we have to recruit more police officers. We have a net increase in SFPD for the first time in 7 years. We have a net increase in sheriff's deputies for the first time in 10 years.
From their standpoints, the downtown prognosis is good.
We have work to do, but we are moving in the right direction.
And momentum will continue with the city and state working in tandem.
From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
And welcome back on this Saturday evening. It was touch and go for Alcatraz earlier this week when the government shutdown began, but after 2 days of uncertainty, it reopened on Friday.
Yeah, and Suji Nam caught a ferry ride over and spoke with one family from Connecticut who navigated all the confusion to get to the rock.
So we have a plan.
Success at last for Nancy Bowden and her partner from Connecticut.
This is our third and finally successful attempt to get out to Alcatraz.
She's in town for the Hardly Strictly Bluegrass Festival and booked a trip to Alcatraz Island. But with the government shutdown, Nancy was unsure how their day would pan out.
So we already had a premonition there would be a problem, but we didn't know until this morning, nor did the staff really, that we wouldn't be able to go at our scheduled 9:20 time.
A park ranger confirmed with us that the first boat was delayed to 10:35 Friday morning.
If you do not have a 12 o'clock ticket.
The line to board was packed, as many visitors had to reschedule their original times.
We were here once before trying to go to Alcatraz during another shutdown under President Obama.
But with better luck on Friday, Nancy eagerly stepped off the boat more than 2 hours later than she planned.
I guess happy because I wasn't going to try again. I figured three tries you're out.
Park rangers were standing by, greeting hundreds of visitors.
Welcome to Alcatraz. Bienvenidos. I'm Ranger Sienna. Thank you for coming out on this wonderful Friday.
While the rangers could not comment on camera, they said they are not short of staffing on Friday and that business is operating as usual. But for some visitors like Ingo Siebelts from Germany, it was a bit of a roller coaster.
We were a little bit angry about that
because all the trip to San Francisco was arranged about the trip to Alcatraz.
Despite the government shutdown, it appears that Alcatraz will continue to keep its doors open for now. And for that, tourists like Nancy are thankful.
The kind of thing that is a piece of history during my lifetime that I did not know about, like so many things, I guess. I was born in '54, so almost all of that timeline on that board over there was during my lifetime.
And national parks in the Bay Area are not exempt from the impact of the federal government shutdown. Several parks like Muir Woods and Mill Valley have been closed since Tuesday because of a lack of federal funding. Some were concerned that if the parks remained open during the shutdown, the lack of staffing could cause considerable problems.
Without National Park Service staff in place to help orient visitors, to talk about safety, to protect delicate habitat and wildlife, we worry that if parks are just open, damage will happen.
Well, from the parks to other parts of the economy, with us now on the impact of the shutdown here in the Bay Area is Bay Area Council Economic Institute Executive Director Jeff Bellisario. And Jeff, thanks for joining us on this Saturday. I just wanted to start by asking, what are some of the other impacts that folks in the Bay Area and San Francisco might notice as a result of the shutdown?
Well, I think the big one's going to be around tourism, right? When you talk about the national parks, you talk about Muir Woods, Alcatraz, you talk about the upcoming Fleet Week, potentially missing the Blue Angels, right? So I think that's probably the thing you'll feel most. We talk government shutdown, but most of the government is still open, right? Air traffic control, TSA still exists. The post office is still going on. Even the U.S. Patent Office in Silicon Valley is still open. So I think kind of the day-to-day effects you're likely to see are on those kind of tourist type places.
Okay, so as residents in the Bay Area, we're not going to see it. I mean, DMV is open, all that stuff. That's a state thing. And that's pretty much the way it parcels out, right? If it's the state. Yeah.
And we had a shutdown in 2018, 2019. It was 35 days. You can go back and look at the data, and it was really a blip. You can talk about employment, GDP, like all of those things didn't really budge when the government was shut down for more than a month a few years back. And in the Bay Area, we have roughly 40,000 federal employees. Some of those folks have been furloughed. Those impacts are really at the household level. When you talk at the macro level, we're not likely to see anything huge here unless this stretches on for months and we're having the same conversation around Thanksgiving.
Okay. By the way, the 40,000 who are furloughed, as well as the additional employees that aren't going to work in a similar situation, they do get paid eventually, right?
They do, yeah. So a lot of this is about delay, right? And I think that's where some of the risk and uncertainty comes, particularly for nonprofits that might rely on federal grants. The Bay Area gets a lot of federal research funding around health and technology. So, we think all those grants will eventually come through, but if you're a researcher right now or you're a nonprofit and you're waiting on a grant, you're not going to get it, right? So I think that adds to the uncertainty in the economy today. And I think that's part of why some people think this feels different, because the economy is not growing, and this is just another headwind to keep us from growing in our region.
Got it. By the way, how do you think, Jeff, this is going to wind up? I mean, do you think they just go back and forth for a bit and then they settle it? Do you see what the end game looks like?
Yeah, I think that's the $1 million or $1 billion question when you're talking about the economy. I think history would tell us that eventually this does get resolved. But in politics and in the current state of America, anything can happen, right? So I'm not going to say what'll happen for sure. It could end early next week, right? I mean, they're negotiating right now, or it could drag on for months.
Yeah, I mean, my sense is, only because this is what I have read, is that Trump is going to use this as an opportunity to permanently get rid of a number of employees. I mean, would you see that as a scenario?
Yeah, I think that is the major risk here, is that people that are furloughed do not come back, and that's where we see the permanent job loss. I think my opinion would be that that's probably not on the table. There would be legal fights. I think that's more of just a posturing move at this point. And again, this is all a negotiation around spending, around healthcare, kind of around what both sides want the spending priorities to be. So I do think this gets resolved. They've always been resolved in the past. The government will eventually be funded. It's really a matter of how long does this last and how wide are those impacts.
As you say, the billion-dollar question. Jeff Bellisario. Jeff, we'll let you return to your regularly scheduled weekend, but thanks for spending a bit of it with us. Thanks, Jeff. And coming up, we're honoring Hispanic Heritage Month. We'll meet a woman whose art celebrates Chicano culture in a way that is both edgy and uplifting, and is now being celebrated by the San Francisco Giants when we come back.
You can see something created by Cecilia Perez almost anywhere. And now her artwork will be featured by the Giants. Mary Lee spoke with Cecilia about her inspiration and why it's important to represent Chicano culture.
It's a hard time. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind having another.
When you walk inside the San Francisco Giants dugout store, the first thing you see is Chicana artist Cecilia Perez's collection. Her artwork tells a story of San Francisco through the lens of a Chicana, through Cecilia's eyes. Her mission is to represent the Chicano culture she loves in the most positive way, and her work is resonating with fans. Her collection constantly sells out. I have my first issued Giants merchandise. I have it as a little trophy up here.
I think what people love the most is the Chicano flavor that she's bringing in, and the colors and the bold. It's all very much quintessential Bay Area culture. When you see it, you know it. She has an incredible fan base, and just seeing everything through Cecilia's perspective is just beautiful.
Cecilia's work is an expression of who she is, a proud second-generation Chicana. Her work brings a Chicana perspective to a culture that she says is often told through the male lens. Her work embraces both masculine and feminine energies with old-school custom lowriders, while also featuring Chicanas at the center of her artwork, ultimately uplifting the female voice. It's edgy, heartfelt, and authentically her own. I'm very proud and I'm very unapologetic when it comes to being a Chicana artist. My artwork speaks for itself, and my background growing up speaks for itself as well. And so I have no qualms whatsoever in just being myself. These cars are in our car club called Sin Nombre de Familia, and I incorporate our vehicles in a lot of my artworks. This 53 Chevy is featured in Cecilia's collection for the San Francisco Giants Artist Series. Lowriders, to me, are rolling pieces of artwork. When she was first starting out, she says it was difficult, but giving up was never an option. For her, quitting meant giving up on her parents' hard work to give her a good life. This painting right here is of my dad. I painted this right after he passed away. It was a means of artistic therapy for myself, so it really helped me cope with his loss. Cecilia's father was an entrepreneur, journalist, musician, and activist who fought for Chicano representation in the United Farm Workers of America. Cesar Chavez himself asked Cecilia's dad and his band to perform at his father's funeral. Through Cecilia's artwork, she continues her father's legacy of activism.
Ultra proud. Cecilia's thought process and being able to encapsulate the Chicano lifestyle, has been prominent, of course, in her art, in large part due to our general upbringing.
Everything that I do is actually in his honor. The last really big milestone that I was able to achieve was him being able to see me throw the first pitch for the Giants last year. And so that was like a really big deal for me, and it felt like a movie ending. Cecilia's artwork is a love letter to her family and community, celebrating Chicano style, strength, beauty, and resilience.
And I would say this sunset is Mother Nature's love letter to us. Look at the beautiful colors out there from our inland East Bay communities to San Francisco. Here's a beautiful view of the Golden Gate. I'll let you know, though, how long these warm temperatures will stick around for, because big cool down is on the way. All details I'll break down coming up.
Well, it's been said one man's trash is another man's treasure, and that's certainly true in our next story. Here's Ann Makovic with the latest installment in our Project Earth series.
North of San Francisco, a few dozen families flocked to a performance with unusual instruments at a dump.
It's inspirational to see what beautiful music that they can make
with these instruments.
The concert venue, Marin Sanitary Service, where big trucks dump the waste picked up from homes in San Rafael, including the trash that ends up in landfills. In the crowd, 2-year-old Wes and 5-year-old Frankie.
I'm a boy mom with 2 big fans of garbage trucks, so we had to come see them in real life.
Also in real life, the musicians who know their way around garbage. Meet the Recycled Orchestra of Cateora, a group of young performers from a remote village in Paraguay. In their hands, musical instruments made from trash, salvaged from the landfill that surrounds their town. Saxophones crafted from water pipes, bottle caps, and coins. Violins fashioned from paint cans, pizza trays, and utensils, and a stand-up bass created from an oil drum. The orchestra's motto,
"The world brings us garbage and we send back music."
Juan Carlos Arauz from the nonprofit E3 helped to facilitate their trip. He translated for founder and director Fabio Chavez.
We believe not only in hope, but that in the children that we work with and we do these performances, that it brings hope for everyone else in the world.
The orchestra inspired a workshop where kids got to make their own musical instruments out of trash intended for California landfill.
Show me. Ooh.
There were some rubber band guitars, all kinds of musical shakers made from cans, cardboard, beans, shells, and beads. And thanks to Frankie and his mom, an unusual tambourine made out of a plastic wheel, buttons, and wooden fish.
People are gonna start to transform how they think about garbage, that really there might be a treasure in there without understanding and realizing what is possible.
The hope, when it comes to trash, future generations might play a different tune.
Well, the Recycled Orchestra has played at the Kennedy Center and for the late Pope Francis. They also performed with Stevie Wonder and opened for Metallica when the band toured South America in 2014. Zoe?
Well, another beautiful day out there across the bay, and tomorrow it's actually going to be just as nice, if not a degree or 2 warmer. After a lot of days of rainy and well below average temperatures, the storm system that brought us all the activity is pushed well off to our east. And now look at California. It's so quiet. It is so clear. It's lovely out there, but I'm stepping on a lot of cloud coverage across Northern California and the Pacific Northwest. And you might be wondering, is that cloud coverage heading our way? Actually, not a lot of it. There's a very weak area of low pressure that's going to move just offshore. You can see that swirly whirl. Again, look at how light it is. It's not going to bring a whole lot of cloud coverage, but it is going to bring offshore winds, allowing our temperatures to stay warm all the way through Tuesday. But by Wednesday, look offshore, you'll notice this area of rotating clouds. That's a low pressure system, a storm system that's going to keep our temperatures cooler starting Wednesday, continuing through the later parts of the upcoming week, and maybe even bring us a few isolated little sprinkles. So yes, there are big changes on the way, so I would highly suggest getting out and enjoying yourself this weekend. Overnight tonight, there's going to be a little bit of cloud coverage and fog along the coast. It shouldn't stick around much longer than the late morning hours. By the afternoon, plenty of sunshine, temperatures again a degree or 2 warmer tomorrow compared to today, sitting in the low 80s across our inland East Bay communities and down into the Santa Clara Valley, mid to lower 70s for areas by the Bay, and mid to upper 70s across our North Bay communities, mid to upper 60s directly along the coast. So it really depends on where you are. Those microclimates returning to full force, but you might notice those winds will be picking up late Sunday and into Monday, and those winds are going to be the strongest across our North Bay communities, where we are going to be seeing those gusts upwards of 45 miles an hour across the highest elevations of our North Bay mountains. Again, anywhere from Mount St. Helena all the way down to Mount Diablo, we are going to be seeing those gustiest conditions. And notice the direction again, coming in from the offshore. That means that drier and windier conditions arriving along with the warm weather. Not great news for our fire danger. But remember all the rain that we saw last week on that storm system that I showed you pushing across the country? That rain really wetted the soil. So that's great news when it comes to decreasing the highest fire danger that we normally see this time of year, because those temperatures are only going to heat up by the time that we step out into Monday, thanks to those offshore winds getting into the upper 80s across our inland East Bay and down into the Santa Clara Valley, mid to lower 80s across the Bay and North Bay communities. communities in mid-70s, even directly along the coast. So some beautiful beach weather is on the way. Make sure to enjoy yourself. Maybe even head down to Monterey, Santa Cruz. Enjoy the low 70s while you can. Maybe you want to head to Pinnacles National Park farther inland. It's going to be a bit warmer out there, but either way, please enjoy yourself, because by the mid to later parts of the week, like I showed you, there is going to be big changes on the way. That storm system is going to bring temperatures down by about 10 degrees from Tuesday into Wednesday, and it's only going to get cooler by the later parts of the week and into next weekend. Rain chances are looking at a pretty minimal right now, but we're definitely going to be seeing a roller coaster of temperatures. So moral of the story is to enjoy the warm weather while you can through Tuesday. Back to you.
All right. Website you love. Thank you, Zoe. Up next, check out the scene at the St. Anthony Foundation's 75th anniversary party, where some San Franciscans took their furry friends for a big bash.
And welcome back. They are known as man's best friend.
Cute.
And dozens of pet owners had their furry friends blessed today at the Feast of St. Francis at a block party in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's hosted by St. Anthony's Foundation as they celebrate 75 years serving people and pets at the Tenderloin. And that does it for us.
That's a perfect way to end it.
Okay.
We'll see you tonight at 11.